Hi folks, welcome to my channel. I'm making this video at the request of a couple of people who wanted to hear a couple of stories of some very recent tarot experiences that I have had, and they're pretty cool, so I'm excited to share them. So as the title probably suggests, these are two successful stories of dowsing or looking for lost or missing objects, and I'll just wanted to walk through what I did, how it ended up working, and the cards that came up. In case if you have a lost object and you don't know where to get started, this is what I did and how this all worked. So two stories. The first one was the saga of my father's missing car keys. And to make a long story short in that regard, it was a very big problem that he had lost. It was actually his truck keys. It was a very big problem. He had lost his truck keys. He is a contractor. He needs his truck to get from A to B and all of his tools and everything. So by the time that I had come home, I live a few hours away from my parents. I came to visit for the weekend, and he asked me, can you help me find my car keys? So what do? I pull out my cards. And for both instances, I was using, this is just a Rider-Waite-Smith, the yellow box deck, and this deck is, it is well worn, it is well loved, entirely shit kicked, shall we say. It's always pretty much with me. It lives in my purse, and it's traveled with me. It's my deck that I'm not worried to put down on a dirty bar stool, or like there's no rules with where I can use this deck. It's been on the beach, in the sand, anyways, so it's always with me. I pulled this deck out, and so my first tip, and this is going to sound incredibly obvious, but try and figure out where they think they left it. Like, what are the bounds that we're working with? Where was the last place you saw it? Where do you think it is? Where have you looked? Sometimes it doesn't matter if they've already looked in a place, but just ask. So he had parked his truck out in the back of his yard by his shop. There's like a dirt, gravel ground out there. There's his shop. His excavator's parked out there. And he had parked his truck there, and he couldn't find his keys. So I come in. The first card I wanted to ask, I said, okay, he wasn't sure, if he had taken them out of his truck, because the truck was left unlocked. Had he brought it into the house? Was it in the garage, in the shop, wherever? So my first question and card was, sorry, my cat's scratching the scratchy post. So the first question was, is it, in fact, like indoors? Is it in a building? So I have the world reversed. No, it was not. And it's not necessarily just because the card was in reverse, but it's like, no, not. Not inside. It's like, okay, so where should I go to find it? And I got the Wheel of Fortune. I was like, okay, so it's by a wheel of some sort. Did it fall by the wheel of the truck? Is it in the mud? Is it, where has this gone? I've got a picture of my cards here so I can say this accurately. And I said, what else do I need to know, or where do I need to go to find it? And I got the 5 of coins, and it came up in reverse. To me, that was saying, okay, it's very close to where he's already looked. He's probably gone right by it a number of times and just wasn't able to see it. Just very close. He's probably either stepped on it or gone right past it, could not find it. And just a clue, or how, what am I looking for? I did not actually ask at this point, will I find it? Next reading. But I said, what do I need to know in terms of finding it? And I had the King of Pentacles in reverse. I was like, okay, well, this looks incredibly camouflaged. There's a whole bunch going on here, but from the right angle, it looks like the keys, which I assigned as the little coin here, is poking out. You should be able to see it, but not from every angle. It looks like it's very, very camouflaged. Okay, so in my head, and this is a really good story because I wasn't right initially, but just bear with me. So I go out to the back of the shop. I am looking everywhere. With that Wheel of Fortune, I'm looking in the tire tracks. I'm wanting to know, has it got squished into the mud? Is it by the vehicle somehow? And at this point, I have my cards in my pocket, but they're not out. So I wanted to take what I had and go out there and see if I could find the keys without using the cards again. So I looked for maybe about 15-20 minutes, was having no luck. Then I start just asking, is it here? Is it there? So I'm standing kind of in the tire tracks between the shop and the truck, and is it here? Is it there? For me, oftentimes in general, like not general readings, but generally speaking, when I'm doing readings, aces upright for me are a hard yes, and aces reversed are a hard no. So I had asked, has it fallen in the ground? Like, has it fallen onto the ground under the truck? And I had the Ace of Swords reversed. No. All right, cool. So I'm thinking back to that Wheel of Fortune. I was like, okay, it has to do something with the wheels, but I am at this point just walking around. I'm sorry, my cats are losing it behind me. So at this point, I am just walking around. Is it here? Is it there? And I keep getting no, 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 no. And in various different ways, whether the card is reversed or it's just has a negative tone to it, I'm getting a whole heck of a lot of no's. So then I asked, okay, and I remember I got the Ten of Swords reversed as kind of my, will I find it in this area? But sorry, I'm missing something. Next, I'm getting a little frustrated at this point, so I grab my deck and I'm like, in one card, be very specific, where are the keys? And I got the Empress. I was like, hey, there's the keys, it's under his seat. It has fallen under the seat. And he had said he got out of his truck, he went into his excavator and such. So I'm like, okay, it's probably in the excavator. That's where this card comes in. But I go over to the excavator and it is locked. I can't get in there, and it's got windows all around, so I'm trying to peek in, look around. I can't see anything. And I knew from that King of Pentacles reversed, I couldn't see it from every angle. And that was when I asked, is it in the excavator? No. Interesting. Time to go head back to the truck, because that's the only other seat I can think of. And I kid you not, guys, that was where I ended up finding the keys. As I said, he's a contractor. His truck is full of a whole lot of things. And underneath his seat was not the, there's not things under there. There was a bunch of stuff under there. And I just start pulling things out. And I ended up finding it kind of in the little tracks under the seat. And I come back inside, and he was quite mind blown, because he had looked there 100 times, as the 5 of coins reversed had suggest. Of course, that's where you start to look, right? Like where you last saw them. Were they in the ignition? They had fallen under the seat. And I just needed to show, because quite clearly, there's the key fallen under the seat. So I hope this kind of shows I wasn't initially right, but it did, through a series of questions and continuing to ask, is it here? Is it there? It really pointed me to where, in fact, they were. So this is, I'll say, a very different approach to when I'm doing client readings, where I'm typically not going to re-ask a question or just I'm not going to just batter the question to death like I kind of did here. But in a dowsing context, I am like asking every minute whatever I need to know and taking my time to get the answer from the cards. So that was the first one. On to the second one. So this other one happened, it was 2-3 weeks ago now, and my uncle had lost his cell phone. Now, this one was quite interesting, because there's a number of ways that you can find a missing phone in today's day and age, but unfortunately where they were staying was a cabin. It is it's not off the grid, but it is, there's no cell service and there is no Wi-Fi service. There was Wi-Fi service at the office, like at the lobby of the cabins. So he did in fact go over there and try the find my phone thing, but obviously you can't phone it, you can't ping it, because there's no service, and we couldn't figure out where the phone was. So here's the backstory. My parents and my uncle and his partner were staying at these cabins, and I went out to visit, stayed a night with them. By the time I got there in the afternoon, the phone had already been missing. So what happened? They weren't entirely sure, but from what I had gathered is they were, my dad and my uncle were getting into their little boat kayak things to go and set crab traps out, because they're just not camping, but staying in a cabin on the ocean. And my uncle had thought he had passed his phone to his partner. She had put it in her pocket, and she was supposed to take it back to the truck with her. She then went and got some mussels and other stuff, was hanging out at the beach while they went out crabbing. Then when they came back and everybody was heading back up, they couldn't find the phone. So I actually think it was a little bit before that they realized the phone was missing. But they weren't sure if it, at this point, was ever actually brought down to the beach. Was it left in the cabin? So she had gone back up to the cabin to try and find where the phone was, because she didn't have it, he didn't have it, it wasn't in the truck. Could not find this darn phone. So that is pretty much the context I was dealing with there. The cabin was up, I don't know, maybe like a 5-minute walk, hike-ish, up the hill from the beach where they were. And they didn't know where it was. But that was the range I was working with. They knew that they had the phone at some point that morning, and then it was gone. So I got there, and my dad asked, it's so cute when my dad asks me to do readings. He says, can you run the cards? He's like, can you run the cards and see where the phone is? He had done that once, but he was in Vegas as well, and had asked me to run the cards on how his trip would go. Yeah, I had pointed him to a slot machine, but it went okay, actually. That's a story for another time. So, the staying focused. What I wanted to ask initially, my very first card down was, and I'm sorry, let me get these cards ready here. My very first card was, where is the phone? I asked, what happened to it? Was my question. Not where is it, but what happened to the phone? Where? Well, I kind of asked both, actually, thinking back of it. Where's the phone? What happened to it? Maybe don't ask 2 questions at once, but that was what I had done. And I got the tower. And I'm going to say, the very first impression that I had of this was that, okay, we have the arrow pointing to the building. And I was like, is it is it in the cabin? But then I'm looking at these two people. It's like, nah, I really think it's not here. I really don't think it is here. So from this, I sat with this for a good 5 minutes being like, is it here? Is it not here? And I was like, okay, well, the tower is probably not the best way to say, you know, safe and cozy inside the cabin. So to me, it had left the building. My next card, and I think I have that, sorry, in this pile here. I said, okay, where is it specifically? You guys check this out. This was very cool. I got the 10 of Swords reversed. And I was like, it's at the beach. It's at the beach for sure. And how I feel about it is that the phone has in fact fallen in the water. And if it was upright, I would have said, you know, let's head back to the beach. It seems like it's on the sand. In the reverse, I was like, it is under the tide. The tide has come in and that phone is under the water. So then I said to the cards, just to clarify, because to me, that was incredibly clear. Like, there's not very many cards that are taking place on a beach. And in fact, that one was just, you know, as clear could be. So then I said, is it in fact at the beach? And I got justice, upright, truth, correct, accurate. You got this. All right, cool. So then I said, will we be able to find, or no, I asked, how can we find it? Was my question. How can we find it? What do we need to do, the group of us, to go and find the phone? All right, so what do we need to do to find it? And I had a judgment card in reverse. So I was looking at that. I was like, well, for me, it looks as though we need to go down as a group after the tide has changed. From this, I was like, it needs to be low tide. I don't know, we have the water here, all the people sticking out in reverse. It's like, okay, if I know from my previous card, you know, build on what you already have. The 10 of Swords reversed. I said it is under the water, and Justice was like, you nailed it, you got it. So I was like, we need to go down as a group and wait until low tide. Great. What time was the next tide? It wasn't the next low tide that would have been low enough to match the low tide that they were at the day, or that present day, was not until the next morning at 10:11 a.m. So that was what I was working with. And I said that to them, like, I don't think we can go back today. I really don't think we'll find it, but let's go as a group and find it at low tide tomorrow morning. But, you know, when a phone is missing, you don't want to just sit back and wait, especially if you think it's gone into the ocean. So I said, well, okay, will we find it if we go right now? And I got the Hermit. And this was like, seek and you shall not find. You will just continue seeking. You're looking. You're looking. You're looking. You're looking. You're not going to find it. And then I said, will we be able to find it at low tide? And I got the 3 of Swords. And now I have a note here of the picture that I took when I laid these cards. And I'm going to be 100% transparent with you. I said no question mark about this. And my desire to always see the glass half full, I will say, I was looking at this like, I think we can triangulate the missing object. But the actual, in the moment, I really wasn't genuinely sure. And then I said, well, what should we do to find it? And I'm not kidding, guys. I got the 6 of Swords. So it was like, go right back to the spot where they launched their boat, where this handoff supposedly happened. Because to me, it's like, whether she put it in her pocket, it fell out. That's what it sounded like that was from them, right? They had thought that was probably what happened with it. But go back to where they had launched the boat on the beach. So we went to bed that Saturday night with the impression of, my dad says, will we find it? And I said, possibly. He's like, well, obviously, possibly we'll find it. But I'm like, I'm not getting a hard no here because I really think we have a location. So the next morning, it is 10:11 a.m. And, well, actually, it was about 10 o'clock in the morning that we decided to go back down because it was, 11 minutes before low tide. And my uncle's partner, she had already been on the beach for hours. She got up very early that morning. And guys, this water is freezing. It is the Pacific Ocean at the tip of this island that is just, it never warms up. You can't feel your legs as soon as you go in there. This water is very, very cold. And there we all were walking around trying to find this phone in the water. And sorry, I'm just trying to find here my picture of the cards. But that's okay. I do remember the cards that I had. So I said, okay, will we be able to find it? Well, actually, okay, back up. Go down to the beach. Again, I'm working with the information I have, and I have my cards with me, but I was not using them at this point. So walking along the beach, trying to find this phone in this frigid water. And like, keep in mind, it's not a gentle little beach. Like, there have been big waves crashing on this beach all night. You can't really see in the water super clearly because the waves are stirring up all of the sand, and it's looking into just this sandy, frigid, moving water. So you're pretty much walking in bare feet in baby steps, trying to step on this thing, trying to grab it with your hand. Anyways, so that was all a thing. But then after, I would say again, about 15-20 minutes of that, I was like, okay, time to consult the cards. And I said, where is it? All right, so there I am, sitting at the beach. Walked up to the beach where I had left my cards on a piece of driftwood. And I said, all right, where's the phone? Queen of Cups. All right, it's here. It's at the beach. It's here. It's at the beach. That was what I got from this card. That was all I got. And then I said, okay, well, is it buried under the sand? Because at this point, it has been, crashed on the waves, crashed by the waves, presumably for over 24 hours at this point. Is it buried under the sand? And I got the Lovers reverse. So to me, I was saying, no, it's not buried under the sand. It's almost like there we are with our little bare feet walking around. And if it was buried under the sand, it's almost like it could have been here under this. But it's like, it's not under the sand. But I was getting this rock feeling from this card initially. Although it was asking, again, was it under the sand? Is it gone forever? No. No, it is not gone forever. Keep going. Keep looking. You'll find it. What do I need to do to find it? Where do I need to go? 3 of Wands in reverse. Was it in reverse? Yes, it was. 3 of Wands in reverse. And here I'm like, okay, well, what is he standing on? He's standing on this big rocky bluff area, and he is looking at where these boats are. But he's not, on my cards from yesterday, it said, go back to where you launched the boat. And I really wish I had a picture of that beach to add to this video so I could show you guys where this all was. But it's a good sized beach, pretty good sized sandy beach. There's nobody else there during this. That was kind of neat. But to me, this was saying, like, the way that beach is set up is it's this big sandy beach with these large rock configurations, like these big rock structures on either side. And that's saying go towards the rock. And I said, well, what do I need to know to find it? And again, I got the moon card, and I was like, all right, this here looks like this little phone, the crustacean we are trying to find. It is right over by the rocks. So that was the information that I had. And I put the cards back, and I head back down to the water. And I also, in parallel to this, so I don't know how other readers work, but for me, I have a very clear sign, a feeling that I get in my arm when I know that I need to stop shuffling, when I have my stop point, when I have the cards that I need. So I was in tandem to the information that they had just given me. I was asking, okay, just use me, right? Like, give me this same feeling, this pain that I get in my arm, just walk me towards where this phone is. And I wish I had this on camera because, guys, it was not a minute and a half to 2 minutes later. It's like I walked straight over across the beach where we were to where the rocks were. And there's underwater, there's all of these big, large rocks. And I just put my hand down and started feeling around this big underwater rock. And I grabbed the phone. It was there. It was there. And it was a brand new iPhone, so of course that is stressful. It also had all of his information in it. It had his driver's license, his care card, his Visa, his debit card, everything, because he's got like the phone wallet combination. And I picked it up and I just started screaming like, wow, guys, here it is. And it was just the absolute best moment in time. Everybody was so excited. And the cherry on top is it was working. It worked completely fine. So the new iPhones that say that they can survive underwater. I mean, I don't know what the temperature of this water was, but I'll say it was pretty darn close to freezing. Maybe like, I don't know, 5 degrees Celsius, if that, like it, I don't know if it's that cold, but it was very cold to the human body. Like, your legs are entirely numb. So it lasted in this water. I picked it up and it was all smooth because it had been like getting bashed about in this salt water with the sand for however long. So that the case was all smooth and it was all soft. And I picked it up and yeah, it worked completely fine. In fact, there was a little notification on it that said, this device has been left behind, which was cute. And yeah, so that is the story of finding a missing cell phone in the ocean 24 hours after it had gone missing. And that was one of the coolest experiences. It's just, you know, if we can use these cards to help someone in any fashion, if I'm speaking to any reader who's ever done that, there is nothing like it. So those are my two stories. That is, of late, how I have found two missing items. I don't use my cards for dowsing very often. I guess I don't, knock on wood, lose things too much, but it is a great set of skills to add to the toolbox, and I hope that my experience can maybe help anybody out there if you guys have a missing object, how you might go about it. So again, to summarize the steps, get the information, like use regular regular information first. Talk to everybody who was around and where it was last, where they think it might be, and then use your cards to supplement that. Take your cards with you to the site. Continue to ask, like, you may not need the cards, you may just get, you know, that one, the Empress card, and go right to underneath the seat, but it may be a bit of trial and error. Don't hold on to everything necessarily being, like, for me though, with that Ten of Swords reversed and Justice, I like that was that was so clear. Like, it is at the beach, underwater, truth, done. So I held on to that one, but it's a good thing that, especially with like the first one where it was by the wheel, I didn't give up, like, hey, by the steering wheel, right? Like, I had the wrong kind of idea, and it wasn't that it wasn't inside, it was not inside a building, but it was inside the vehicle. So just, I would say, remain fairly fluid with your interpretations and with what you're asking, but at the same time, always build on what you think you know. So I hope that this was interesting, and I'm glad I got to share this story because a few folks have asked. I posted a couple pictures about especially that last story. So it's been very interesting, but thanks for tuning in. I'm going to probably be doing some more videos just sharing stories and interesting happenings with the cards, because these things continue to amaze me every single day, and I don't know, it's fun to share it if anybody wants to hear. So thanks for tuning in. I am Cassidy the Cardslinger, and I will see you in another video. Have a great rest of your day.